Afternoon, dudes and dudettes. Got another video blog for you today. Today's topic, we're focusing on teachers, what it means to be a social studies teacher in the 21st century. The first question I asked my cooperating teacher was, what role do standards play in the classroom? Which is a very broad question and can go in many ways. And he was talking about how kids' prior knowledge really impacts your lesson on the standards. If they know a lot about it already, you don't have to cover too much on it. You could maybe focus on an activity instead of a lecture. So their prior knowledge has a lot to do with the standards, and that you don't really want to rush through it. You want to take your time with it. The standards are a good basis of what you want to do, but you want to go above and beyond the standard. You want to go deeper than that, if at all possible. I asked him about the framework and some of the essential questions. He said that the tests about the standards are based on the content knowledge and not really the essential questions. So the essential questions come out during the lesson, but he focuses mainly on the content knowledge because that's what's represented on the SOL test. And I asked him what role the NCSS standards played in lessons, and he honestly said it's not that big of a deal because they're so broad that they're covered over time in class that he knows they're there, but since they're so broad, he doesn't really mess with them too much. I then asked him what the stresses and strains of teaching are, and he said he's not ever really stressed out in the classroom. It's mainly anything that's out of his hands is what stresses him out, such as him teaching extra classes and extra students this semester, and just having a lack of time to teach those extra classes. We had a problem with Blackboard where, because he teaches too many students, they had to move a certain amount into another Blackboard class, and that screwed everything up. So when it comes down to it, he just gets stressed out when things aren't under his control, things that he can't really change at all. Tech malfunctions, like when internet goes down, but you just have to, he says you just have to have a backup plan for that all the time. And he kind of has a rough idea of pacing, but he has a good schedule, and he's tweaked it. For example, the pacing guide says that you should talk about Andrew Jackson and his role in increasing democracy for about 2 weeks, but he was able to do it in 3 days just because he was able to get the things that he thought was important, and he focuses on the standard still, but he's able to kind of tweak that. I then asked him what it's like to be a teacher outside, once you're outside of school. He says he recommends not talking about education when you leave school. Leave your job there, because it just becomes frustrating at times. He says especially the first year, try and leave as much work as you can at school and don't take your work home with you. That means just staying in school an hour or two after to get your work done instead of taking it all home to do. On occasion you'll have a weekend where you have to grade papers or grade tests, but other than that, try and get as much work as you can done at school. Use your planning period wisely. He says to definitely have a personal life outside of school, but at the same time, go to a few of the extracurricular activities like football games and etc. And some people can get way too wrapped up in the profession, and that you need to have a life outside of school. And I kind of agree with that. He says he'll check emails once a day just to make sure everything's going okay, there's nothing too urgent, and that he'll grade if he has to. And my last question was just how he plans and all that. And he says it's much easier when you teach the same courses over a period of time because you have a calendar that you look back on, you see what worked and what didn't, and how long it took you to complete a unit. So that really helps out. And after the lessons are done, he kind of sees what went well, what didn't, and he'll tweak that for the next time that you teach it. And he just always tries to make sure that the lessons are better than the year before. If you can add something to it, make it more engaging, just do that. So that's what I got.